friends and enemies. Welcome back to the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. Happy Mother's Day to all of you who celebrate, and certainly to the wives of people listening to and watching this program. God knows they need all the support they can get because all we do is talk about Bitcoin. My name is Joey. That's Len. Busy week in Bitcoin, Len. Did you see the Coinbase stock news after work today?
Yeah, you posted in one of the chats. Now, did that have any bearing with their stock price?
10% after hours, 4% during trading hours today. So it's a significant jump. I'm very happy about my bags.
We'll talk about Coinbase today, just for you. We'll give a little bit. No, it won't be this. Right? We'll discuss Coinbase, and
I'm going to have to move it to this. I've seen the topic. I'm going to have to slide it over to this during the conversation.
Please, because we have to discuss Coinbase, right? There's lots to talk about over there, given what they're doing. I can't believe, well, let's not discuss it just yet.
We don't want to spoil the fun. We don't want to spoil the fun. We
100%.
can, we'll do the sponsors. EasyDNS, the best place for you to host a website, buy a website, port a website. Mark will help you with all that stuff. He's your friendly neighborhood domain registrar. Lots of good stuff over there, Len. Mark is always adding to the suite of available services. So you get obviously the standard, you buy a website, Mark will help you out. You get email services, and you can add stuff like blogs and other sort of features that we use on the CBP website. For example, we have a lot of stuff linked there. And although we haven't written anything in a while, you can go there and see that we have a WordPress plugin going and all this other stuff, which is fantastic. But if you're really serious about your security and the security of the people who are using the website, there's two other things you should get. One is Easy Mail, which is a secure mail service. So you don't have your email spoofed, as we talk about every week on Access of Easy. People losing their information line every week. It's unbelievable what's going on with with the boomers these days. I say boomers, but honestly, looking at some of the people I tweet back and forth with, who I think are my age, probably not just them that are getting hit. And then obviously as well, there's Easy Mail, and then was the other one, Domain Share. Domain Share was the other security feature option that Mark has available for just a couple extra bucks. If you host a website with EasyDNS, you will not be at risk if you let Mark take care of you. And we want to help you with that. So what do? You go over to EasyDNS, you use the promo code CBP Media, you get 50% off your first round of buys. You can't beat that. Money back guarantee. Pay in Bitcoin if you like. Mark, the original Bitcoin treasury company. And obviously he's been a partner and friend to the show for a long time. So go over, use the code, and start your website, man. Feel good about what you're doing and get it out there with EasyDNS. Who's the other sponsor?
Bull Bitcoin. You know what? People are using Bitcoin all over the world, even in Costa Rica, Jolie. Even in Costa Rica, they're using Bull Bitcoin, which is phenomenal because they're located there. But they're also located in Canada. So if you're in Canada, you're looking for an exchange, a good one, non-custodial, Bull Bitcoin is the way to go. Why? Like I mentioned, non-custodial, that's one. Two, privacy. They make stuff before it's consent to you. But other things that's very good for them, like, look, you could do on-chain. Fees are starting to creep up a little bit right now, just starting. So you get the option. You don't have to buy on-chain, especially when fees are very, very, very high. You could use Lightning to do that. So set up your own Lightning node, and you can have funds directly sent to your Lightning wallet, and you're good to go. But you could also do a couple other things with Bull Bitcoin, which are fantastic. One, pay your bills. Say you got some outstanding bills, Maybe there's some people still from Christmas that haven't paid off their bills, and they're getting collections knocking on the door, calling them. It's time to end that. You could use your Bitcoin. Price of Bitcoin spiked in the past few days. So I guess it's a pump for ants, but either way, people could use their Bitcoin to pay those bills through their bill service. Secondly, you could use a Bitcoin and buy gift cards, right? Like this is one way you could start spending Bitcoin in the real world in Canada by buying these gift cards with your Bitcoin. Check them out. Use our referral link below. If you do that and open an account, 0.25% will be taken off your fees in perpetuity. So you will get lower fees when you buy. The spread is right there. There's a new website. It's fantastic. Check them out. Available in lots of parts of the world. Costa Rica, Mexico, lots of Europe, like France, and so check them out.
We like it. Let's do some boosts, and then we'll switch over to housekeeping. We'll talk about what's coming up on the show.
Okay, so Jer writes in. Jer wrote in a few times this week. Thank you, Jer. And 2,000 sats. He said, I really enjoy this episode. Jeez, I got to figure out which one he wrote that for. That was one of our episodes from Monday, Tuesday last week. Like the ones we split up in half.
Jared, love you.
Business Cat writes in 5,000 sats. CBP is rapidly becoming an important part of my 40 hours per week. I like the fact that still people are doing the 40 hours, or maybe 40 is a little low if you're looking at you, Boom Dust. Maybe it's time to boost
How many
it up.
should you get? What is the food pyramid recommendation for Bitcoin podcast hours per week?
You're talking to the wrong guy.
I know you don't
right?
listen
Like
to anything.
if
God,
I'm
I can't believe it.
Well, if I'm at 3 hours, that's a ton for me per week. So you could tell me what's the proper spread.
I think it's
we're both.
I don't know. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but like listening intently is different. So I want to know from the 40 HPW crowd, do I just have to have the podcast running, or do I have to be able to tell you the Coles notes of the podcast? This is an important distinction. So I'm going to refrain from commenting any further till I know exactly what listening means to these guys.
Just noise for the most part.
It's not that it's just noise. Like, I listen to a lot of stuff, and I don't necessarily retain all of it, but it helps me form opinions and sort of gather the direction of what people are thinking in the broader Bitcoin /market / finance space. Hold your tomatoes. I listen to stuff that's not Bitcoin too. So there's that to consider as well.
What is that? Hold your tomatoes.
Hold your tomatoes? What?
Oh, that's the name of a podcast?
No, hold your tomatoes is what you say when you're about to say something unpopular. Like, I don't listen to only Bitcoin podcasts. Yeah, don't throw tomatoes at me.
Okay, sorry. That would have been it. That's a great name. Hold your tomatoes.
Save it, yeah.
Yeah. Jer, again, 10,000 sats. Not too bad.
Thanks, Jer.
Great conversation. Super respectful, learned a bunch. And that's, that was with Mr. Arnome and Mr. Bitcoin all caps. Give them both the misters. They deserve
that was a banger episode.
You know what? That's the first time Mr. All Caps has been on a podcast. He's been on Spaces before many, many, many times. But it's the first time he's come on a podcast. So it's awesome to have him come on.
Was a banger. Those two guys are smart as all hell and have been around and understand what's at risk with the filters thing. So very strong. Op return, still a hot topic this week.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it a bit.
Maybe resolved. Business Cat again, 10,000 sats. Powerful fundamentals. I like very well done as a way to give homage to Mr. Fundamentals, giving him the Mr. title as well.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have Mr. Rod Palmer, and another 10,000 sats comes in.
Rodeo Rod. Okay.
Just writes in hashtag 40 HPW hours per week. And that's it. That's all he writes in. So thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Great stuff. Yeah, man, great episodes last week from you. 2 bangers, obviously, with Fundies, and then with the boys from Bitcoin CA and the Bitcoin Discord. I mean, those guys are heavies, and like I said, I've been around, understand the development of Bitcoin, the development of the social layer, and where those two things collide is on something like Op Return, honestly. And there's been other examples, but this one I think is a little bit more consequential than the ones before it. So
they're very opinionated, right?
Yeah.
Like
why shouldn't they be? Why shouldn't they be, right? This is, when you think about, not to like, I don't know how much these guys have riding on Bitcoin, but I think the answer is more than we do. And, I would be opinionated too. I would care a lot about that. I think I care a lot about Bitcoin, but I can't imagine how much these guys care. They probably care a whole bunch more and have been around a whole lot longer. So yeah, when they speak, I want to listen. I want to hear what they say, and I hope you guys felt the same way.
And the good thing is, I think that Mr. Arnold is going to come back again in the not too distant future. As for Mr. All Caps, I can't say for certain. The door's always open for him to come back, but really, I'm not sure if he wants to. It's really dependent, I guess, on the time of day and how he feels that morning. So we may hear at least one very near future, but 2 would be awesome. Once again, I know Mr. Arnome said he'd like to come back again at any time. So whenever there's a hot topic that comes up, I'm going to think of him as one of the top guests to invite.
Definitely.
Whether you like it or not, people, he's going to come on again.
Yeah, and Fundamentals and those 2 guys are welcome anytime. They're favorites of the listeners, favorites of you and I, and I recommend people listen to them whenever.
Fundamentals
or read them.
Was almost a year to the day.
Yeah,
that he last was on the show. Like almost.
That's crazy.
It's funny that it's like every year he comes on.
He's getting ready for his next appearance next May. Should be good. This week.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to be interviewing a gentleman by name of Shay. And he is a resident of El Salvador. Very up to speed with respect to Bitcoin and technology, and he hasn't yet been around in the podcasting circuit, Joey. But I think we are the first to have him come on. So this is going to be a lot of fun to introduce him to the podcasting world. And I look forward to chatting with him because apparently he's got a lot of bright ideas. And I'm going to see if I could tap into that and get him to speak his mind.
Comes highly recommended from someone we trust. And so he is welcome on the program. And if you guys have ideas for next week, I haven't booked anybody because I've been busy and Len has taken the interviews for the last 2 weeks. I'm going to jump back on next week. If you have any ideas for people to discuss something with, Bitcoin or otherwise, let me know and I'll reach out. Otherwise, I'll dip into the stable of CBP favorites and we'll go from there. Where do you want to start tonight? We got this is an interesting week in news. I'm not reading this comment, but yeah,
you can't do anything with that.
Yeah, just funny. Spotify, Toby, no, that's Shopify. What's the Spotify guy's name again? Dan Eck. Dan Eck is about to shut this podcast down if we read that comment.
Is he the CEO of Spotify?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not up to speed with that. Anyways,
let's hit it. Where do you want to start? We got some bangers, man.
Up return. It's back. It makes another return. Up return does. It's still in the news. And so there's really just 2 points I want to bring up because I don't want to beat a dead horse even further. But one thing of note is I guess we'll call it the Bitcoin core dominance, for lack of a better term. It's being chopped up. And last I saw, Knots was running at around 8+% of all reported nodes out there. So people are making a decision with their CPU power. And as a result of all this, because there's been a lot of backlash and people changing their Bitcoin node client of choice, the Bitcoin core team has decided to say, well, we're going to hold off on this. And maybe hold off is not the wrong word. They're not going to go ahead with this up return removal change. So it's a good thing they were able to digest this properly. They made the right decision right now. Unfortunately, I think a lot has been lost with trust within their team.
Talk to me about it. Let's hear about it.
Well, people are upset with them, right? And they were arbitrarily making a move without real discussion, without having people participate. And it seemed like it was a step in the wrong direction. At the very least, you could probably raise it to a higher number. Removal might be a bridge too far to cross. But you know what? They did, I think, the right move right now. But it just could be just damage control more than anything. And that's what I fear. If that's the case, if they're doing this just to save face, then it's like, I don't know. And I'm not to say that everybody should run Knots. Run whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, this is the beautiful thing about it. In fact, I was gonna fork Core. I'm not sure if you saw this, but I was gonna fork Core, and on version 30, I was just gonna copy the code that was removed with respect to the op return and just put it back in as 83 bytes. Yeah. And that would have been it. So if you still wanted to run Core, you could have still ran Core in my fork that I was going to propose, but it's not needed. So it's right. Like,
fork yourself if you want to fork, as the old saying goes, right? Yeah.
I like options, but I don't really have much else to say. I discussed a lot about this in the past 7 days. So really, what more can I say about this? You probably have a lot that you want to get off your chest because there's been a lot of movement. But for me, I'm turned out.
Let me ask you. So some criticisms of the core dev team and the Knots quote unquote dev team, Luke, basically, over the last 7 days that I think needs to be addressed. And again, I'm not technical. I don't run a node. Everyone knows this. Okay, so I'm really just shooting my mouth off here. But
you will one day.
I will one day. I know. Yes. You gave me the laptop. I have to put a Linux Mint thing on there. But the thing I want to know from you, since you're more connected, you can tell me if I'm off base on this. The criticisms about Core being run by a team of devs and going through many different sets of eyes and having proper review and a more thorough review because of the number of people working on this thing, as opposed to Knots, which is, according to the critics, a one-man show, and you're going to have problems because it's not being reviewed by one guy. I don't think that's a good criticism. And I think that the guys who are supporting Core on that crutch are kind of giving away the game. That they can't win on they can't win on quality, and so they're trying to win with attacks that only make sense if you're not really paying attention to how development works in the two clients. It sounds to me like knots is basically just core minus or plus, depending on how you look at it, more features. And the code review is done more or less 95, 96%, maybe more. As you mentioned there, it's, a couple lines of code on core. And then the knots guys, whether it's Luke or one of his buddies, just make the changes for the filters. And, when I saw that criticism, I thought that really tells me something about the case these guys think they have on the sort of quality, the qualitative side. They don't think they have a winning case. They know that the people who are talking about knots and running their own version of the Bitcoin software are correct. And they're trying to paint it as dangerous, as not reviewed, as things that they should know are not true. And I suspect they do know are not true, of course. And they're trying to attack the sort of mid-curve majority node runners and saying, look, you can't run this, blah, blah, blah. This is better for you. I really think that gave away the game. I'm curious if you feel the same way or if that even crossed your radar. For me, as someone who doesn't run a node and doesn't think much about this stuff, when I started seeing that a few days ago, I thought, this is really, it's telling to me that they've gone this direction, that camp seems to have, embraced, like P-Man is saying in the chat, the trust the experts type thing. I really thought that was the end of the road for them. What do you think?
They've been doing this for a while though, with releasing
criticizing knots for being a one-man show that doesn't get properly reviewed when 99% of the code comes from core and their review team. I have never seen that attack before. Knots has been targeted, not this exclusively or with this much focus, but it's been targeted in the past. I've never heard that criticism before, but I heard it a lot the last few days.
Oh, they have always had this parental way of dealing with things. Look at when it comes with releasing information for the CVEs, any sort of bugs within core.
Yeah,
they've released this information way after the fact, and they're releasing information for clients that haven't been maintained for years, many, many, many years. And so why are they doing this? Because they know what's best for us. And this isn't by doing this move. I mean, before this recent change about them shelving the op return removal idea, it was for our best interest in that they believe they're
allegedly, exactly.
Right. Like that's come on. I want to have it. If there was an option out there, like if there was hypothetically a slider that you had on there, and the end user, when they load up their Bitcoin core, and they could adjust the slider and how much they want their op return limit to be, either not there, so it's unlimited in terms of like 1 megabyte, or up to say, or as low as 40 kilobytes, like the way Luke has it. Like, give the people the option to do whatever they want. Don't force things down our throat. But like I said, when I was talking about potentially doing a fork of core and just putting that code, because this is open source, we have the ability to make changes ourselves. We're not forced to follow one particular client. We can do whatever we want. There seems to be a lack of clients, so to speak, even though there's just about 10, a dozen or so. It's really just 2 big ones.
Yeah, no, it's only 2. I mean, look at you mentioned the spread there, right? The 4% is the
8.
major second player in the ecosystem. Now I will say that the version, I can't remember if you said this during your breakdown, the version before the most recent version also started to gain quote unquote market share against the other versions, which also tells you that even if people were not running knots, they were unwilling to run the newer versions of core as a message. No, but to see it gain strength like that, I think that was I think that was off of what you normally see in terms of the adoption pattern. That's my understanding. I've only been looking at this for the last 3 weeks because it's been topical for the show. Otherwise, I would never look at this. But that seemed to me to be a message as well.
It's not like it's Windows where it's forcing you to download.
Yes. But by that same token, guys who are going backwards in the software.
That's a huge
right.
Move.
Yeah.
That's a huge. But one thing to consider too is the newest version, and this applies to everything. It seems to lag in terms of getting adoption. like Windows 11 when it came out. I don't even know if it has the majority of the market share for Microsoft operating systems.
I don't know.
But Windows 10 had a huge, and it just took time to slowly chop away at it. And I have no idea what it is now. But that's just always the case. It just because the old one, people have used it, they're familiar with it, or they just don't give a fuck and don't want to update it. Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm using an older version of Core that I still have to update. This one is no longer maintained. I fucking just compiled the one that is still being maintained just this weekend. I just have to type make install to finalize this. I just been fucking busy with shit lately. But so I'm behind the curve.
Yeah. It's interesting. This is I said before last week or 2 weeks ago, can't remember when we started talking about this, but the social layer is proving itself to be a target for people who want to change Bitcoin. And I think this time has proven itself to be a formidable target for those people who want to attack the way that this thing works, which I was happy about. And, the other thing I'll note, and we can leave it on this or you can add a comment after, but I think a lot of people now take interest in the way that Bitcoin Core operates compared to stuff like Knots. And they're looking at stuff like Opportune. They're looking at stuff like Network Bloat and asking, why is this the way it is? Whose idea was this? Where did this idea come from? How did this development or this PR merge? Like when did it merge? Who was the dev? Who was the, who were the stakeholders? Who supported it? Who didn't? Stuff like that, right? I would never have known, for example, that Luke Dashier, Dash Jr., whatever the guy's name is, who's now super against stuff in, what is the term he uses? Arbitrary data. He's super against arbitrary data, but in 2011 and 12, he, like I said last week, he was pumping a lot of Bible verses into the blocks and he wasn't against that. Now you could say it's different than pictures and I would agree, but the principle of what arbitrary data is it should be consistent. And I enjoyed kind of learning a bit more about, his past and Peter Todd's past and seeing some of the guys who you kind of like know as Bitcoiners, they have opinions on a lot of things and you might follow them from your, first foray into Bitcoin Twitter and maybe you haven't heard from them in a while or forgot why you followed them. You're starting to look at those guys now and think like, okay, well, what are your motivations? Well, who do you work with? Who do you work for? What are you pro? What are you against? And I think a lot of people are going to be paying attention to that now. That's one thing it did. I think more than anything, it turned on a lot of what would have been lay people not paying attention to development. May start paying attention now, which is great. Although some devs will say I shouldn't have an opinion because I've never merged a pull request, but fuck you. How's that?
Yeah, a lot of people haven't. So that would negate just about everybody's opinion if you listen to that type. And that's a Lop thing, isn't it? Am I wrong?
Sure
that
is
Lop, right?
Sure
we'll talk about him.
He's a clown. We can talk about him if you want. He's a clown. Yeah.
But before we even go down that path, fuck it. Let's just end this topic. I'll take that. Sure. We'll just keep going down.
We did like 40 minutes on this last week. We're already at like 15 this week. So.
I think it's burnt out, in my opinion. This New Hampshire news that came out, and I don't know about you, Joey. I don't know what's it with me, but I don't give a flying fuck about it. I don't know why, but this seems like low energy, and it's like almost in the same realm of Jeb Bush when you're talking about low energy, right? Like New Hampshire said that, and they didn't say, they actually did. They passed a law for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and that's now been signed off by their governor, and it allows the state to buy precious metals and Bitcoin and potentially shitcoins. But I'm going to give some information on that. The shitcoins, in order for them to purchase it, they must have a market cap of at least $500 billion. If you do a look on coinmarketcap.com, you will see only one digital asset is above that threshold. That's Bitcoin. The second closest is ETH, and that's around 300 billion. So based on what I see now, they can only buy precious metals and Bitcoin and add it to their balance sheet. I just don't know about it, but for whatever reason, I don't seem to give a fuck about it. I don't know why. Maybe because it's a small state. They're the live free or die state. So they're at least living by that motto. But one last thing I just have to say, according to the bill, they're not going to custody their Bitcoin. They're going to use somebody else to do that. And somebody that has insurance, they say, and all this fucking bullshit. More of this crap that shouldn't be done. But either way, I don't know if you're in the same camp as me, like of not giving a fuck about this, because I certainly don't.
Okay, two things. One, the law itself. Shout out to DP Dennis Porter doing good work. I think you may disagree with the dilution of the bill, crypto, Bitcoin, precious metals, blah blah blah. But there's no doubt that Porter is doing good work. I feel like I could give him a shout out because he takes a lot of shit on the Bugle and he takes a lot of shit on Twitter, but I think he's good. I'd love to have him back on the show again at some point because I think he's doing a lot of good work and introducing people to this stuff in a way that they may otherwise not have been introduced. It's a friendly introduction. It's a low risk introduction, and I get the feeling that he's going to keep stacking up wins, which is good. I'm going to be on Mike Campbell's Money Talks in a few weeks, and my plan is to talk about this slow money thesis that I outlined on Why Are We Bullish a few weeks back. And, I'll talk about it a bit here too. I want to see more of this for one reason and one reason only. Not because I think that state adoption is going to trigger the marginal buyers of Bitcoin, the ones that are just off the chart to send the price to $1 million overnight. I don't think that's going to happen. But what I want to see is volatility on the downside reduced by entities buying and holding either through ETFs or through spot in vehicles and for purposes that are not easy to sell back into the market. So endowments, state pensions, state treasuries, stuff like that. That's what I want to see. This is a good example of that. The other thing that I think is important is on a broader, this is not, New Hampshire's not global in nature necessarily, but the idea that a U.S. state who probably gets preferred U.S. bond rates, is choosing to go through the process, even if it's just a kind of a dog and pony show, to sign a bill that allows them to invest in metals, Bitcoin, and crypto instead of short-term debt. When short-term debt seems to be the place everybody wants to go now on the nation state level, that's good. That's a signpost. I think that that's important. And I think that the more that other countries, other nation states, provinces, pensions like OPSU or the teacher's pension, whatever, right here in Ontario, the more that they look at that and they say, you know what, these guys who could get bonds in the reserve currency at a preferred rate in the most liquid market in the world at any duration they want, really, are going through this process and thinking about buying Bitcoin. Why? It's an introduction that those types of slow money vehicles need. And they don't want to be the first, right? We've talked about that before. The career risk that exists investing in something like Bitcoin when the volatility is what it is significant. And it's not something you could easily recover from as an investment advisor, certainly not one that's responsible for a pension or the like, or a state treasury. So you need people to plow some snow for you. And this is what's happening in New Hampshire. So I like it. I don't know if it's as significant as maybe the breaking boys and the clickbait boys want you to think, but it's not a nothing announcement. And you're going to see more and more of these. Part of the reason I think you may view it as boring is because it's happened a bunch over the last year. Is that part of it, you think? It's like no longer
has it happened as another state? This is the first state, from what I understand, that has done this.
But I'm more talking about like announcements of this nature, right? Like maybe not states, but we've seen like pensions looking at it, endowments. We've seen people buying MSTR and the ETFs at that level. And
I'm at the point, I don't care who buys.
Yeah.
I think it's now because enough water has flown under the bridge. And whoever buys it, all the more power to you. And whoever doesn't buy it, have fun staying poor.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do buy it, hopefully you do the right thing. If not, again, just do whatever you want with your Bitcoin. There is no rules to follow with it. If you want to burn it, be my guest. You want to hold on to it, be my guest. I honestly just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want, and they can do whatever the fuck they
want.
Yeah. I know what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if the state wants to do it, great.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm at this point, whatever.
Real question. You talk a lot of good game about making sure you have more Satoshis the day after than the day before.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people that you're actually full of shit and you spent $700 on a Switch 2 pre-order instead of buying Sats? Should we talk about that? How does that do for your treasury? Has Dennis Porter reached out to you to tell you how bad a mistake that was?
No, but you're telling a half story though, Joey.
No, I would never do that.
So if I were to do this, I would allegedly purchase more than one, which I may have already done, and with the intention of scalping and earning even more sats as a result. People in the past allegedly did very well with other consoles like PlayStations and Xboxes and so forth. So if given an opportunity in hypothetical world, I wouldn't want to miss out again. Where
Purely
potentially I made
hypothetical.
games.
Purely
So
hypothetical,
yeah. To be perfectly honest, Joey, zero, and I spoke to 2 people about this today. Still have zero intention of keeping any. It's either one of 2 things. It's if it can't be scalped for more, it's going to be returned to the vendor for refund. I have zero fucking. Normally, I'm first in line for getting this, but this time, fuck it. I have zero fucking interest in this. Absolutely none.
I have no time, and we'll still be keeping the unit that I pre-ordered and hoping that Zelda comes out or Pokemon or something.
So if a Zelda came out, I would change my. Sorry, if a proper Zelda came out,
a new Zelda.
There's a Hyrule Warriors type.
No, it's bullshit. Flagship or bust. Flagship or die. Yeah,
exactly. So that's what. So in the meantime, I'll be happy just to sit on the sidelines and wait for sats to continue to rise in price, and hopefully, and then buy the Switch 2 at a later price. 2 things I'm hoping for. One, I get them in time for June 5th. Well, this is all alleged, by the way. And 2, I'm hoping that there is exceeding demand than there is supply. So, and if that's the case,
it's a move. Okay.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I'm in the same boat. I'm buying footballs off Amazon, putting mud on them and selling them for 50%.
Yeah. That's. But this is strictly the scalp. You know what, the PlayStation 5. That was the equivalent of being a central bank and printing money. That time, whoever had PlayStation 5 when it first came out, you had the ability just to print fucking money. Similarly, the same thing happened when the Switch first came out in March of 2017. The demand was so high, it was hard to find a Switch. You were printing money at that time. I'm having doubts that it's going to be a repeat of that with the Switch 2.
Keep your head up high, buddy. Keep your head up high.
My hopes are high, but I think realistically it's going to be returned.
I don't think people have any money. I mean, no one's got $700 for the unit plus Mario Kart these days. So
people are willing just to pay whatever for video games. They'll borrow, they'll steal, or whatever. It just seems to be like they don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And I want to be there to capitalize on that.
Let's do it.
So some more capitalization on stuff. We got this Strive Asset Management. Joey, you heard about this one, right?
Go ahead.
It's co-founded by your buddy Vivek.
Unreal.
Right? Strive Assets Management, and they're a company. They plan to do a publicly traded asset management. Sorry, to be the first publicly traded assets management company that does a Bitcoin treasury strategy, a Bitcoin treasury company. So they're going to accumulate Bitcoin.
Can we just talk about? I don't want to cut you off, but it's just a dumb fucking. I'm gonna pull up the. Pull up the tweet. We're at the point of the cycle. You may remember, listeners and viewers, that Len 5 years ago when people were trying to upset Bitcoin and become the new Bitcoin. What were they all saying? This is, it's the better Bitcoin. This is the evolution of Bitcoin. This is, the Bitcoin 2.0.
They say the best way to describe it was solving a problem that didn't exist.
Yeah.
That's the best way I could describe it.
I think you're right. And these guys use this sort of terminology. Now, here's what they're saying about Strive Asset Management. See if can I zoom in on this? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Hold on. Bear with me here. It is the evolution of the MSTR model.
And so that's
what stage of the fucking cycle are we at here? Where we got to have the evolution of the MSTR is doing the most exotic financialization of an equity that is financializing another asset that anyone has ever seen. Okay. Even the people who love Sailor are asking themselves, what the fuck is Bitcoin torque? And how is this going to make me any money? Now, this guy's telling me he's going with an evolution of the. I don't need this. I don't need this. No one needs this. We don't need any more Bitcoin.
There's a lot of this going around.
It's popping up everywhere. I know. I think this is. Don't hold your tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
This to me reeks of cycle high. This has to stop. It has to stop.
Somebody said this. I'm not taking credit for this whatsoever. So what I'm saying, I'm paraphrasing what I read on X, and I wish I could give the dude credit. But the way he said it, or she, whatever, said it in like 2017 is, I'm a Bitcoiner, buy my ICO.
Yeah.
And in 2021, it's, I'm a Bitcoiner, buy my DeFi.
That sounds like something D would say, honestly.
Well, I'm going to get to that. He says, next one is 2023. It's, I'm a Bitcoiner, buy my NFT. And then the next one, buy my JPEG. But now it's, I'm a Bitcoiner, buy
my
stocks in my company.
Yeah, buy my stock. And by the way, like it's not just Saylor. Like there's a lot of companies doing this, right?
Yeah,
Adam O'Brien, friend of the show, but like he gets on Spaces sometimes. He wants you to buy his stock instead of buying Bitcoin. It's Coinbase, same thing, right?
No, who's friend of the show? Who did you
Adam
mention?
Bitcoin Well.
Oh, well, they're doing
and
they're
others,
doing
right?
their own version of it. I'm not trying to say it's good or bad. It's just like whatever.
It is the flavor du jour, right? Everyone is doing this.
Yeah. Like, and I I talked about it with you, I guess last week or the week before. Bitcoin is the easiest investment strategy because you just have to do really just one thing. You just buy and hold, right? There's nothing else you have to do. Just buy and hold and just continually do that. You're okay. And another thing like that came to me is like Bitcoin, they talk about it as being risky, volatile, all this stuff. But in reality, it's none of that stuff. It's the total opposite. It's the safest fucking thing you could buy, especially if you zoom out long enough.
Yeah.
There's no rug that could happen. There's nobody that's going to stop you from accessing your bank account, which we've seen people get shut out. You have your Bitcoin. That's it. There is the risk, I will say, and this is just my own words. I mean, I think it's virtually not there as long as you're able to secure correctly. Right? Like that's the one thing.
What was there was like a podcast or something that TFTC or 1031 or whatever came out with. It was called The Last Trade, right? There's no sell point. It's just a buy and hold trade. And anyone who's done that, it's at 102,000. What is that right there on your block clock? 103,000. How many people are underwater on $103,000 Bitcoin? Is it 5%? Is it 5%, 4%?
Yeah,
less than
and
that?
if you
it's
are,
nothing.
Just wait 4 years. I would imagine somewhere within the 4-year period of time, it's going to go above whatever you bought it at. Yeah. I think the high was 108, 109. I have a sneaky suspicion we'll get above that number, even by $1. So you got an opportunity to sell if you want.
You're a winner. You're a winner. You can get.
You are certainly a winner. And why? Like now, I don't want it to shill MSTR. I wouldn't. But if you have an opportunity to buy this STRV, that's a ticker, or MSTR, which one are you gonna? At least MSTR. To their credit, it's a profitable company, right? Like they have a product to sell. The only thing I can say about STRV, given the fact that they have Vivek running it, I would imagine their operating expenses for paying people is quite low.
H1Bs? I think he's hiring H1Bs.
I would imagine, and this is driving down that expense.
You gotta check the balance
Other
sheet.
than that, what sort of advantage do they have?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't think any. I'm with you. If you're gonna buy a Bitcoin treasury company, like I'll level with you, okay? Like I still DCA into MSTR and Coinbase and a few other things. Like I said before, at rates that are much lower than they were a few years ago, because I prefer to just grow my stack. And actually, I've mentioned on this show that in years past, my strategy on dips was to increase my DCA across everything that I invest in. But now the DCA on the equity side always stays low. And if there's ever dips, I just roll it all into Bitcoin at spot through bull, right? But I think if you're going to do that, I would agree with your sentiment that MSTR, clearly the best company of the lot, Bitcoin aside. And then if you're talking about Bitcoin treasury, who's doing it better than them? You can disagree with the strategy. You can disagree with...
You're doing it better than them.
Sure. But
you are.
You know what I mean?
I can guarantee you.
You know what I mean? If you're going to buy an equity, if you're one of these guys who just wants an equity, wants something that you perceive to be high beta, then this is the thing to buy. It's not... It's funny, like it's been altcoins in the past, NFTs. You can make the case even that it was ordinals a few years ago if you wanted to beat Bitcoin or try and beat Bitcoin. But now, like people are waiting for alt season, and I'm starting to see more and more people who I watch out of curiosity as opposed to because I respect them, come to the same realization that a lot of Bitcoiners have come to over the last year or so, that the alt season already started. It's, more than halfway through, and it's actually in MSTR and the treasury companies, and not in these like garbage utility tokens, the Rube Goldberg token ecosystem. I think that that's probably true. And I think, Len, that, I don't know if the air is going to come out from MSTR. I don't know if it's going to come out from Semler or Metaplanet or, any of these other companies. But there's a part of me that thinks it's at least possible that these guys just run a flywheel that works because people want Bitcoin more and more and more, and more people start buying spot, buying those equities, buying those, and the money just flows in and keeps flowing in perpetuity. Not to say there won't be downdrafts or crashes or whatever, but you and I have talked about this before. Are we done with the 50% crash from the top?
No.
You don't think? I really think it's possible that the more we see these companies buy Bitcoin with no intention to sell and accumulate, to the tune of 1 million almost, between Saylor, Personal, and MSTR, is he going to be at 1 million by the end of next year? By the end of this year? Like, you telling me 1 million Bitcoin are not moving no matter what the price is? Satoshi's coins are not moving no matter what the price is. The hodler base gets stronger and won't sell no matter what the price is. I want to know, like, happen. I know, but I'm saying, like, where does the 50% drop come from?
Well, if something happens to, I'll give you an example. Where is a lot of this being held in custodial services, right? Fidelity, sure. Coinbase.
Yeah.
If ever there is a hint, and these are not held in one fucking wallet. These things are spread out in many, many things. So it's divided. So if somehow one gets compromised, the whole thing's not lost. But as soon as you get the hint, because North Korea, for one, you could tell they're like, this is a honeypot. They're fucking going to nail this as much as they can. As soon as you get wind that just one of these accounts, these wallets, even with just a fraction of a Bitcoin, even if it's like 0.25 Bitcoin, gets fucking nabbed, the level of trust people have in these companies, not just Coinbase and Fidelity, but also the companies which use their services, it's going to fucking tank.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a result, that's just one scenario I could think of, and that's a plausible scenario that could happen at any time.
Definitely.
So what happens if the United States becomes adversarial against something like Bitcoin and MSTR, which probably won't happen under this regime, but there may be a change. And if they do, because Trump has hitched his wagon to Bitcoin, so to speak, if there's somebody else that's not named Trump and they want to be an anti-Trumper, so to speak, then they could easily go against Bitcoin. And what happens to the price of Bitcoin? What happens to the price of MSTR?
That's a different story. I'm more thinking of like the sort of natural blow off tops we've seen in the past, right? These cycles that hit their highs and then basically vanish, over the course of 72 hours, you drop 20%, 30%. We've seen this in every cycle.
Was not natural. You had Terra Luna blow up because they would just sheer stupidity.
Yeah.
So like
rehypothecation. Okay. Is that natural or not? Yeah. I see the point.
I don't know. So a lot of this is just forces, external or internal, that are just creating this. It's hard to say that I can't say for certain it's never going to happen again. And even a 50% drawdown brings us to 50K at this point, which, we'd be laughing at that.
I know.
And that's a wonderful buying opportunity, man. People that are sitting on dry powder.
Truly. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I still remember doing the Why Bitcoin podcast with Jeff and Doug. Now Sly Goomba, I guess, back in 2021. It's probably the same summer. It was the same summer I got married. So we were just starting our show. And the price of Bitcoin was like, it couldn't have been more than, I don't know, 20K-ish. And I remember talking to those guys and telling them that, you and I did I don't know how much of a chunk of your buys were done at 3,000 or less, but, I had a lot. And those guys are going, man, I wish we would have been around at that time.
You're always wishing.
I know, but I cannot emphasize enough that, like, you're in that time right now for the 5 years from now.
Yeah, and you're always there.
You just have to be you have to be confident that this is going to work, and you have to be confident in making enough money, being a net producer like Preston Pish says, and putting it into this. It's it's the opportunity of a lifetime, and you're watching things unfold around you that tell you more and more that the digital financial system is not going to be that friendly to a lot of things you may enjoy, and you're going to need something like this. And you may need something like this to be agile, to be a true, multinational individual, to be a true jet setter, to move your family or to pay for a proper school or pay for proper food, all these things. I can't stress it enough, man. The opportunities are there right now, and you have to know that they're there, and not worry that you missed it 5 years ago, right? It's the old planting the tree adage. The best time is now, as opposed to yesterday. So keep that in mind. And yeah, Metro, good point. But buy for your kids, if not yourself. I think about that all the time now. Every time I buy, it's good for my little one, good for my wife, good for if something happens to me, I want everyone to be taken care of, and that's something you got to keep in mind too. There's no better way to do any of this stuff. Bitcoin serves so many purposes that not having any at this point is irresponsible. Is where I would come down.
Not just to end it on this drive one, let's move on to a very close story. Did you hear about this Nakamoto Holdings by David Bailey?
Yeah,
right. It's today. It's the same, right? It's the same fucking shit. They're doing another one. They're doing they're going ahead with a SPAC with Kindly MD KDLY, and so that's where they're getting their foot into the public trading forum. And again, it's another one that's going to try doing the same thing. Like, we just basically outlined everything. Good thing, bad thing. The question is, why would anybody want to buy? But whatever. If you do, all the more power to you. Yeah, Bitcoin just sitting there. Just buy it, hold it, don't even think about it. It's just such an easy fucking thing to do. And if something happens, you can always get access to your Bitcoin, right? As long as you have access to your keys and internet, of course. But even then, you don't even need internet. There's people are finding creative ways by relaying off with ham radios and shit like that. So man.
Yeah.
I'm even more bullish now on Bitcoin than it was 2 minutes ago. There's so many different ways you could fuck all this bullshit.
I kind of, it's just to backtrack on some of the stuff I said about the treasury companies. I don't think a lot of them are going to work the same way that MSTR does. But it sounds like you're the same. It does make you more bullish to see them popping up, doesn't it?
No, the reason I'm more bullish is because I could broadcast transactions without the internet. I could use a ham radio.
No, I know. But does it not make you more bullish to see companies realizing that you have to have Bitcoin on your balance sheet, and actually it's as a treasury strategy for a publicly traded ticker, this is maybe a one trick pony that works to draw in failing fiat dollars and transmute them into valuable Bitcoin equity?
Nah, if you took me back a week, my level of bullishness really hasn't changed. Even though I said it went up, it hasn't changed. And a week ago, we didn't have MSTR buying another, I don't know how much they announced
billion and change, yeah.
And we didn't have this Nakamoto merger. We didn't have this drive. But still, my level of bullishness was the exact same. It always is going to be the same. I don't care who fucking buy. I honestly, when anyone take out New Hampshire, I don't give a fuck who the hell is buying it. Who the heck? I just don't, because of the fact that I could own it and I could just control it. It's such a powerful fucking tool that's available, and you don't have that in with fiat, right? Like, what the fuck are you gonna do? Just stuff dollar bills up your ass and travel across the world? You can't do that. So Bitcoin gives you so much more freedom than does fucking fiat. Whatever. Let's just talk about your buddy Wyszynski.
Sure.
Right? Like
12
this
years.
Guy. Yeah. 12 years. Crypto fraud, right? This is the former CEO of Celsius.
Deserved easily, right? I think that's a no-brainer.
Is it light? Like, SBF got 25 years. CZ got a summer at the Club Fed. Do Kwon is facing up to 130 years, right? Like, there seems to be that the 2022 purge of the CEOs is happening, of the shitcoin CEOs is going through. But to go back with Celsius, they were offering, like, people, what the fuck is this? If they're late to this game, they're wondering what Celsius was. They were offering us an exchange, and they're giving people rewards for depositing their assets. They claimed to be, this is the wonderful thing, safest place for your crypto, and they filed for bankruptcy in July 2022. And they also paid a hefty fine to the SEC of $4.7 billion. That's one of the largest fines in history. Where they had that money, I have no idea. And still, with all this being said, they still have, that's floating around, the token that it is Celsius, this CEL token, and there's still value to that. I cannot fucking believe people still have value. And it's still being traded out there because that is their token and they're fucking bankrupt. But you know what? If somebody's willing to pay for it, there's going to be value for something. But for this, what the fuck?
Do you remember the Celsius? It was like a database of leaked names of people who held Cell token. You could just like search in a very simple GUI.
Oh yeah,
for a name, and the number of people who actually owned Celsius token was like fucking so high. People who
Bitcoiners,
really good, exactly. And when people when I wish I could still find that. I was looking for it the other day, and couldn't pull it up.
Well, to give him, I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass here because remember that was in 2022. I'll be honest, I was using Ledin at that time. They were a sponsor of our show.
Not the same. No token, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
but I mean, I was
obvious flywheel scam. I can't believe still that people watched that debate with Schiff, Saifedean, and Mashinsky, and Schiff and Saifedean lining up like two planets that had never lined up before. And both there's looking at this guy like, you can't give fucking 7% or 17% or whatever the number was in perpetuity to everyone. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Mashinsky sat there with a straight face and tried to spin it. And now he's going to be sitting with a straight face in a prison cell. So sucking on something that's not a pina colada. I guarantee you that. I wish him all the best.
I wonder if he's going to get out early, 25 years. And he's not a young guy. I'm going to guess he's in his late 50s, early 60s.
He's probably in his 50s. He missed his kid's graduation and broke down in tears the day of his sentencing. Fucking idiot.
Due to crime.
Yeah.
Good time.
That's right.
Coinbase. Coinbase.
Ding, ding, ding.
And yeah, so let's just figure out where their heads are at. Like Bitcoin, price of Bitcoin is doing pretty good. So like people are buying Bitcoin. People are talking about Bitcoin. We got these companies talking about Bitcoin strategies. We got states talking about Bitcoin reserves. And what do? Coinbase scooped up a new asset this past week. And it is the crypto options exchange company called Deribit.
I love this.
$2.9 billion.
Yeah.
They're focused on Bitcoin and Ether options. And Bloomberg. I call him Bloomberg was reporting that Deribit's value is in the range of $4 to $5 billion. So based off that, it looks like Coinbase got a steal, almost half off. And it seems like they were forced to make this move because Kraken bought up one of Deribit's competitors in the options world, and that was called NinjaTrader. They bought that for $1.5 billion. These fucking names.
We got to spin something up. How can we not spin something up and sell it for $1 billion? Like, how hard can it be? Look at this graphic I made with AI. We can make a friggin' derivatives market, can't we?
I'm sure we
SEC,
can.
cover your ears. We're going to spin up a derivatives market and sell it for $1 billion by the end of next year. Put it in the book. Write it down.
It's going to be easy to code. Just go to ChatGPT. Could you please code this? Yeah. I want right?
Also tell me how to avoid the SEC's enforcement arm.
Well, it's got to be what countries up there kind of are friendly towards that? Is it Bermuda?
I don't know. We could ask Brookfield Asset Management if they have any rooms in that building in the Caymans. We can maybe just grab a couple computers and a server rack in there, see if we can spin something up.
But we need a good front man, a good PR guy. I'm thinking about that Baby King that used to work for, or probably still works for, what's the Luxfolio? What's that guy's?
Baby Larry King.
He'd be good, right?
Sometimes Len sends me stuff from eras past. He sent me a screenshot of a friend of the show,
Larry King Jr.
talking to I can't remember the guy's name, but yeah, truly interview autist. Yeah, we should get that guy. What's he doing these days? Does he want to do a show on the network?
Put a black background, some lights. Just copy the.
I'm gonna fucking pull him up. I gotta find that guy. But anyway, keep talking. Tell me
we have connections. We could talk. We could talk to Dean to get this done, right? And he's been interviewed by him. Anyways, there's nothing more I gotta say about this. Like Coinbase, they're going into I don't know, man. It's just fucking deal with Bitcoin. I don't know
why are you surprised by this?
I'm not surprised. I'm just like
Okay.
giving him some suggestions. Just fucking deal with Bitcoin. Don't deal with this garbage here. And whatever. Fuck them.
Okay. I like the acquisition. The way I see this, the way I see this is,
I still say fuck them.
I know, I know. The way I see this playing out is Coinbase is going to get into all sorts of degenerate gambling behavior. And right now it's thinly veiled, behind this curtain of derivatives trading in the two most liquid crypto markets that are regulated by the SEC and CFTC and the American government. And it's onshoring and it's going to be monitored and surveilled and all these good things that the government loves. And all the seals are clapping in Congress, except Liz Warren, who will tell you, of course, that this will bankrupt you if you don't, submit to the state, whatever. But I expect Len to see Coinbase doing sports gambling by the end of next year, 2 years from now, and everything in between in the meantime. People with crypto have a fuck ton of money now because as long as you didn't sell at some stupid time, you've made a boatload in terms of the actual value of your portfolio. And let's face it, there's a certain sect of the Bitcoin realm, and it's an even bigger part of the crypto realm of people who want to gamble. They like the rush, they like the feeling, they think they got an edge, and whether it's a real or perceived edge matters very little to Coinbase. They will take your money, take your scalp and your fees, and they will take your account and make sure that they expose you to as much of their other products as they can while you venture around their platform trying to make a couple of bucks gambling. So I think this is great. I think it's a no-brainer. The derivatives market and Bitcoin getting deeper by the day. Ethereum, I don't know. I think the Ethereum flows are basically dead. Like I think they had a negative week last week on ETFs again, even with their big update. So, whatever.
We don't need to bring fiat to Bitcoin. Bitcoin in its
we don't need to do any of this
sense
stuff. I totally agree. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying that if you're a Coinbase bag holder, me, you like this. It's because you're going to get money from people who are otherwise, playing with NFTs and other bullshit that takes fucking 10 extra steps. Why not just send your ETH or whatever token to Coinbase? You could also be buying it there already. Coinbase probably sells what? Are they selling 300 tokens at this point? More?
I don't know what they're selling. Way more.
Probably more. So, you can buy anything there and then gamble with it. Perfect. Play in the derivatives market. Perfect. I'm all in. No problem. By the way, derivatives gives you, derivatives on a market the size of Coinbase, a user base the size of Coinbase, gives you a better data point for price predictions in Bitcoin and Ethereum too, which is also fun. It's another interesting wrinkle to all this. So Len's just shaking his head.
Just like, oh my God. And even I could say that Coinbase's, their ability to stay afloat impacts my bag's value. If something happens to Coinbase, the value of everybody's Bitcoin is going to go down.
Sure.
So, I say this, that there is an indirect linkage to my value, my portfolio, and Coinbase doing well. They can fuck right off. They could just fuck that. All these products is just more fiat trash. Like I say, Bitcoin in its purest sense is perfect. It is, you just have Bitcoin, use Bitcoin. You don't have, what the fuck, buy some more somehow, or earn some more, right? Like it's beautiful, right? Like if you, that's perfect, and can't get rugged in that environment. Ups and downs happen on their own, not because of some stupid thing that you introduced and then it just blew up and then it just topples the whole market by its, like, fuck it. This is Bitcoin on its own is wonderful. Let's not introduce more garbage. Fiat's trash because of all this garbage. I don't think we have a ton of notable stories, so I want to. No, we do.
Oh, do we? Okay, we should talk about this though. Boomer saying in the chat something that I'm hearing more and more. We'll never get to hyper Bitcoinization without the fiat games. Yes or no?
So hyper Bitcoinization, define that for me. That's everything's priced in sats. Is that what it is?
I've not considered what the definition of that might be, but it's got to be something close to that, right? Hyper Bitcoinization is something like that.
Kind of look at it, and I don't know if I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime. I think there's always going to be some fucking bullshit to like associated with it. Somebody's going to print something, and maybe like going back in time when there was the US dollar that was backed by gold. You know, you had something else that was gold. And I think I think that's what's going to happen with Bitcoin eventually. There's going to be some other bullshit they're going to introduce for us.
Maybe
that's going to be Bitcoin adjacent, Bitcoin backed. Oh, did I lose you or did I lose?
I think you're kind of lagging on my side. I don't know how it looks to people in the chat, but I mean, I can still make out everything you're saying. I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I just think it's an interesting question that there's a number of people in Bitcoin who are like, you know, sort of the purity test types who, you know, don't seem to understand that global reserve asset does not come by, you know, using Bitcoin for t-shirts at conferences. You need more than that. And I don't know what more than that means. I don't know where the line is, but it's definitely way past local marketplaces. I'm not sure if it's, you know, $1 trillion derivatives markets, but it might be. I'm not sure.
What's the goal here? I am very selfish in my goal is that I just want to ensure that my wealth is not whittled away due to stupidity.
Okay.
And I have total access to that wherever I am. That's a very selfish way of looking at it, but that's what I want. And to me, as long as that's achieved, and I'm nearly there, I believe, it's total success. Everything else I could deal with. I could deal with the fiat shit because I could always come in and out, and I don't care about. So that's success to me with Bitcoin is when you're able to use it in that regard. That's a huge success.
Okay. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. I just, you know, it's an interesting thought experiment. We should talk to somebody about that. I'm not sure. Energy traded in Bitcoin is what
you're talking to me about this.
No, I mean, like we should talk to like someone who thinks we need all the fiat. We need all the fiat games.
No, then you just create some more problems that don't need to be introduced. Fuck it.
Yeah, I think you'd be right. Let's go to notable stories. We got plenty of those. We got plenty of those. If you're on audio, come back tomorrow for the rest. If you're on video, stay tuned, stay with us, and we will be back. Well, in 0 seconds, really, but through the magic of audio editing. If you're on the other side, it'll be tomorrow. So take care of yourselves
and get the fuck out.